808 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand, Mason Fleming producing, Jan in the newsroom, and we got a lot of Super Talk today. I'm still upset about what you said about my hat. My hat is fantastic.
Really, it's just that I'm jealous.
If you're watching on Super Talk TV, I'm rocking the limited run MAGA Halloween cap with the jack-o'-lantern on the back.
How long ago did you get that?
I got this last year.
What kid did you knock over and take it from?
I got this last year. And I break it out during October occasionally. And, you got to wear it. You got to wear it. Got to do it. So if you're watching on Super Talk TV, you're enjoying this great hat that Joan was making fun of.
Yeah, you got to get your money's worth out of that thing.
You know what?
It's like once you sweep a jack-o'-lantern off an old porch on November 1st, you got to wear that thing, man.
You have to. But I wouldn't make fun of any other hats unless it's that camo Harris waltz.
Oh, yeah.
That one's rough.
Yeah, and especially who was wearing it. Not great, man.
Yeah, this is not that. Yesterday we played a lot of audio. Kamala Harris, her team, the media, Donald Trump is hiding. He doesn't want to produce his medical records. And it was like, what a joke, right? It's just, you guys are clowns, and you're desperate. You're desperate.
You're reaching.
You're reaching. You're scraping the bottom of the barrel.
Grabbing for that cholesterol.
And so fun, right? Yeah, they want to know his cholesterol numbers.
Hey, what is it? I just need to know.
180, by the way. He posted on Truth Social.
Yeah,
180.
My favorite tweet so far.
It's so good. It's so good. But yesterday also, Kamala Harris had a radio town hall. And after everything we heard about Donald Trump is dodging the press, Donald Trump won't release his records, Donald Trump is scared of Kamala Harris, all the talk. Kamala Harris went on the record during this radio town hall and said, you know what the biggest challenges that she's facing? Mis and disinformation.
One of the biggest challenges that I face is mis and disinformation. Mm-hmm. And it's purposeful. Because it is meant to convince people that they somehow should not believe that the work that I have done has occurred and has meaning.
Oh, yeah. It's purposeful. It's purposeful. This is what the left does. They project, right? It's mis and disinformation. That's the biggest challenge I face, Kamala Harris says. Again, yesterday, screaming from the mountaintops, every Democrat, every liberal, every far-left radical was saying that Donald Trump was dodging interviews. Oh, he canceled a CNBC interview. Oh, my gosh. There must be health issues. I have this guy that my wife and I used to work with back in Richmond back in the day, and he's a rabid leftist, and he posted on his Instagram story, Donald Trump, he dropped out of CNBC's interview. He might have health issues. It's like, guys, get a grip. Get an absolute grip. Because the fact of the matter is, Trump is sitting down and taking massive interviews with unfriendly press. He did it yesterday with Bloomberg News at the Economic Club of Chicago. And you want to hear the funniest part? It happened right in the beginning. After a day of hearing that Trump is dodging the media, Trump is dodging interviews. Listen to what Bloomberg News editor-in-chief John Micklethwait, I think that's how you pronounce it, Micklethwait? John, the guy over at Bloomberg.
Yeah, that one guy.
Micklethwait. It's M-I-C. It's Mickle. I know it's Mickle.
Yeah.
And then it's T-H-W-A-I-T. Micklethwait?
Thwaite that would be my guess.
Micklethwait.
I don't know. I think Micklethwait is pretty funny.
Anyway, the Mick over at Bloomberg News, he had this to say about Kamala Harris actually declining that invitation.
The first is just for the record and for those people watching on television, the Economic Club of Chicago and Bloomberg both invited Vice President Harris to a similar interview about her economic plans that she has declined so far.
Oh, she declined. She declined. I thought Donald Trump was the one dip, duck, dodging, and diving away from media interviews, right? I thought Donald Trump was the one that he's losing it. He can't do any interviews. Okay. All right. And also during that radio town hall, after Kamala Harris says mis and disinformation is one of the biggest challenges I face, well, she went on to push mis and disinformation. Yeah, I know you're shocked. you're shocked. But Kamala Harris on that radio town hall repeats not only the suckers and losers hoax, but the bloodbath hoax.
And he has said since then that there will be a bloodbath after this election. He has, on your point about the military, referred to members of our military as suckers and losers.
Oh, mis and disinformation is the biggest challenge I face, says Kamala Harris. By the way, here are debunked hoaxes about Donald Trump. The bloodbath hoax, when he was talking about the car industry, if Kamala wins. Or the suckers and losers hoax, which was made up by a leftist journalist. And people that were there with Trump during that trip said it was categorically false. Mis and disinformation is the biggest thing we face as a candidate. That's the biggest challenge. Funny enough, also yesterday, the Kamala HQ Twitter account was spreading mis and disinformation. They posted this clip from Trump at the Economic Club of Chicago with Bloomberg, and it says, Trump belittles auto workers, saying they just assemble parts out of a box, and says children could do their jobs. Listen to how they clipped this. They clipped a 18-second sound bite, to push mis and disinformation.
United States, and they have a little bit, but you know what they really are? Assembly, like in South Carolina. But they build everything in Germany, and then they assemble it here. They get away with murder because they say, oh, yes, we're building cars. They don't build cars. They take them out of a box and they assemble them. We could have our child do it.
Can we come back?
Mis and disinformation is the biggest challenge Kamala Harris faces. This is the Kamala HQ Twitter account, taking Trump out of context. Let's listen to the whole clip. The Kamala HQ account says Trump is belittling auto workers. But let's listen to the 20 seconds that the Kamala HQ decided to omit.
They don't want anything from us. We have deficits that are crazy, and we're not going to have them anymore. We're going to put tariffs on them, and they're going to do, and you know what they can do? The Mercedes-Benz will start building in the United States, and they have a little bit, but you know what they really are? Assembly, like in South Carolina. But they build everything in Germany, and then they assemble it here. They get away with murder because they say, oh, yes, we're building cars. They don't build cars. They take them out of a box and they assemble them. We could have our child do it.
Can we come back? Let's come back to the Europeans in a second. What about?
It's amazing how little effort it takes to debunk the lies of the left. It really is. This took me no time at all. This would take you no time at all. This would take a fifth grader with an internet connection no time at all. Yet Kamala Harris goes on this radio town hall and says, my biggest challenge, mis and disinformation. You peddle in mis and disinformation. You continually push hoaxes. Wasn't it at the debate she brought up the Charlottesville hoax? The very fine people on both sides? Give me a break. Give me an absolute break. This woman is, she's out of her mind. She's out of her mind. Ian Sams, he's an advisor to the campaign for Kamala Harris. He went on CNN to attack Trump's fitness and push that disinformation about Trump dodging media interviews and his health is in decline. And even CNN fact-checked Ian Sams of the Harris campaign about the mis and disinformation.
I want to ask you about something you posted on social media that is related to this. You posted a side-eye emoji in response to Trump dropping out of a planned interview with CNBC, alluding again to Trump's mental fitness. Now, the vice president was invited to appear with them but declined. She also declined to be at that Bloomberg conversation, or to have a conversation with Bloomberg, I should say. She also declined an interview with Time Magazine. Declining media hits really isn't an indicator of mental fitness, is it?
You know it's bad when even CNN has to fact-check you on your mis and disinformation. Again, the biggest challenge Kamala Harris is facing currently. It's her campaign pushing it, guys. It's her people pushing it. And Ian Sams, he tried to muster up a defense to that, and he did his best.
Well, I think anybody who thinks that the vice president's dodging tough questions should tune in tomorrow when she sits down with Fox News.
Do you hear that? Oh, Tune in tomorrow when she sits down with Fox News. He's so proud of it. He's so proud. Oh, yeah, you're doing an interview with Fox News. Then he's going to go on to say that Trump dodges interviews, right?
Should tune in tomorrow when she sits down with Fox News for an interview. And so I think she's out there taking questions even from really tough corners. Today, his appearance at Bloomberg was the first event he has done in one entire month with a mainstream media outlet. Everything else has been in conservative media or friendly spaces.
Yeah, okay. This interview that he did with the Economic Club of Chicago couldn't have been more antagonistic by Bloomberg. They were out to get Trump. Trump was the best Trump yesterday. I love it. I don't think Trump is afraid to go into spaces where it may be unfriendly. Also, you're going to brag about Kamala Harris doing one interview with Bret Baier on Fox News. Trump was on Fox News over the weekend, right? Like, Trump is everywhere. Trump is actually executing a media strategy that is so solid, especially for the youth vote. Going on the Theo Vaughn podcast, going on the Full Send podcast. Kamala wishes that she could get these invitations. She's begging for these invitations. Trump is going to be doing something with Joe Rogan. It appears that is going to happen. They're also trying to get Kamala Harris on the Joe Rogan podcast. Do you think she's going to accept that invitation? Doubtful. But this is what we have to deal with. Projection from the left. They tell us that we're pushing mis and disinformation while they do it to us, and they do it to us with a blank stare. I think that they know that they're doing something wrong, but they don't care. They don't care at all. Also, speaking of misinformation, First Doug was doing an interview yesterday with Dan Le Batard. Do you know Dan Le Batard? He used to be on ESPN. I don't know if he's with ESPN anymore. I don't think he is. I think he went solo. But First Doug, the husband of Kamala Harris, doing an interview with Dan Le Batard. He actually has a third version of what happened when Joe Biden dropped out. A third version. Because Kamala has told us two versions of how she found out. She was making breakfast for everybody, and then there was the time that she decided she's got to cook a pot roast. Remember that? Well, this is the version Doug is now telling.
You said that communication is key, but she couldn't communicate with you immediately to tell you that Joe Biden had stepped down, correct? You were busy in spin class, right?
That was right. So it was, I was in LA. It was during that weekend when all the planes were down because of the software glitch. So I had to spend an extra day in LA. I decided to go to a cycling class with some friends, and it was an hour class, and we were just chit-chatting. I had my phone in the Secret Service car, so I didn't have my phone. And then my friend's partner just showed me his phone with the letter from President Biden, and I'm like, gotta go, and just ran into the car, and there was my phone, literally, like, you could feel the steam, 7 or 8 messages, all with, where are you, call Kamala, and it was a 1 minute or less conversation, which started with, where the F were you? I need you right now, and basically get to work.
If that's the version of the story he's telling you, imagine how much worse it was when you actually picked up the phone and said, hey, Kamala, where the bleep are you? Doug in spin class. It was his friend's partner that showed him the news. 3 versions of the same story, right? Was that when Kamala was cooking the pot roast or cooking breakfast? I don't know. Misinformation and disinformation, right? Trump won't do any interviews, they say. Well, he was at the Economic Club of Chicago yesterday, and Trump was as Trump as he could be, putting on a master class. He called Bloomberg fake news to their face, and I loved every minute of it. I'll bring you the highlights next. It's 9:22 on Super Talk, 99.7 WTN.
Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Coming up in the news at 9:30, why I-24 was shut down for hours overnight. Also, Franklin police are out with a warning about grocery shopping. We'll explain those stories coming up at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Are they warning you that you're being robbed by the Biden-Harris administration?
That's not quite it, but yeah, close.
All right, well, I'm looking forward to the news coming up in 2 minutes with Joan Jones. My name is Chris Hand. Hey, election night, November 5th. We're going to have a fantastic party. Wilson County Fairgrounds in the Ag Center. You can go for free, or you can sign up for VIP tickets and purchase those, which will get you VIP seating in the front, guaranteed spot. It'll get you access to a buffet.
Wow.
Real good food and unlimited drinks.
And that's not just your standard sodas, right?
No.
That's the good stuff.
It's that's what the people tell me.
I mean, yeah, I was like, I don't drink, but for a night like that, I wouldn't turn down a good beer.
I don't partake, but I don't knock you for doing it. And if
Absolutely.
you're going to do it, you should sign up for those VIP tickets so that way it's all included, all inclusive. 997WTN.com. Donald Trump was at the Economic Club of Chicago with Bloomberg. And oh my gosh, he was so good yesterday. So good. This is Trump at his best. He's just at his best. Listen to him talking with the editor-in-chief from Bloomberg.
What does the Wall Street Journal know? I'm meeting with them tomorrow. What does the Wall Street Journal know? They've been wrong about everything. So have you, by the way. You've been wrong about
You're trying to turn this. You're trying to turn this.
You've been wrong about
No, you're trying to turn this into debate. There are business people. There are business
you're wrong.
people.
You've been wrong all your life on this stuff.
It's so good. It's so good. That's a 19-second clip of about a 3-minute tirade where he just roasts the editor-in-chief over at Bloomberg. I'll bring you the whole clip when we get back after the news. It's 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Well, hello there. It is now 9:30, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. An early morning police-involved shooting shut down the eastbound lanes of I-24 near Murfreesboro. This happening about 2 o'clock in the morning. Now, traffic was backed up for miles behind the scene where a dark-colored van was parked with both back doors wide open. There were at least a dozen police cars surrounding that van. I-24 is now reopened, and so is Joe B. Jackson Parkway, which was shut down. We'll bring you more information as we learn more. Metro Nashville police arresting a Brentwood man for the attack and killing of a woman who had been exercising at an Antioch Park Monday evening. They said Alyssa Lokitz was walking on a trail when Paul Park stepped out between two cars and began following her closely. She was then heard yelling that Parks was trying to rape her before witnesses heard gunshots. Chief John Drake said that they got a break from someone with dash cam video of Parks trying to escape the scene in his BMW.
I was worried this could be a serial rapist or serial killer. I was worried this could be someone that could do this over and over. And so I'm so thankful that our people got on this.
Park was booked on a criminal homicide warrant. He'll appear in court tomorrow. Police in Franklin say watch it in the grocery store. They say there's been an uptick in what's called distracted thefts. Franklin officer Ryan Howell in a video that was posted to X.
And what they're doing is distracting the person to turn away from their shopping cart. And at that time, someone might come behind them and take out their wallet and leave.
He says credit cards taken have been used pretty quickly afterward, too. Police say if it happens to you, call the credit card company and cancel those credit cards right away. Market Numbers Report brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. It's all in green on Wall Street this morning. Dow Jones Industrials up 180, NASDAQ gaining 11, and the S&P 500 index plus 12 points. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
The first is just for the record and for those people watching on television. The Economic Club of Chicago and Bloomberg both invited Vice President Harris to a similar interview about her economic plans that she has declined so far.
Oh, she declined. Kamala doesn't want to talk about her economic plans with Bloomberg? Is she hiding from the press? What is she hiding from? It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. You see, that's been the talking points in the past couple of days. Donald Trump is hiding. He's hiding from the media. What? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. Now they're highlighting that he canceled a CNBC interview. Okay. So now he's not mentally fit. Okay. All right. Hey, you do you. I was watching President Trump yesterday at the Economic Club of Chicago doing that interview with Bloomberg, and saying he's not mentally fit, that wouldn't be the way I described it. In fact, I think that he was just absolutely as Trump as he could be. And there was one moment where he just roasts Bloomberg. I mean, he roasts them. Absolutely roasts them. Inflation comes up. They're trying to tell him that his policies are going to cause a lot more inflation. And essentially, Trump calls Bloomberg fake news right to their face.
You said, President Trump, at the moment there is a thing called the Trump trade in the markets. Do you know what that is? The Trump trade is very simple. People are betting that your policies are going to drive up debt, they're going to drive up inflation, So they're going to drive up interest rates. Are the investors wrong?
Yeah, I had 4 years no inflation. I had 4 years no inflation.
But that was when you had much.
I had 4 years. It's better than that. And Biden, who has no idea where the hell he is, okay? Biden went 2 years with no inflation because he inherited from me. And then they started spending money like drunken sailors. They spent so much money. It was so ridiculous, the money they were spending. They were spending on the Green New Scam. The Green New Scam, the Green New Deal. You know, it was conceived of by AOC +3. She never even studied the environment in college. She went to a nice college. She came out, she just said, the Green New Scam. She just named all these things.
But President Trump, the issue at the moment, the markets are looking at the fact you are making all these promises. Latest one was car loans. You're flooding the thing with giving giveaways.
But we're going to grow.
I was actually quite kind to you. I used 7 trillion. The upper estimate is 15 trillion. People like the Wall Street Journal, who's hardly a communist organization,
but you don't know.
They have criticized you on this as well. You are running up enormous debts.
What does the Wall Street Journal know? I'm meeting with them tomorrow. What does the Wall Street Journal know? They've been wrong about everything. So have you, by the way. You've been wrong about
You're trying to turn this. You're trying to turn this.
You've been wrong about it.
You're trying to turn this into debate. There are business people.
But you're wrong. You've been wrong. You've been wrong all your life on this stuff. You've been. Let me tell you about currency. You're going jumping.
You've been wrong about this stuff your entire life. I love it. Here's the thing: Trump has 4 years to stand on. Trump has a record to stand on, a record with no inflation, a record that had the economy booming. He has a record to stand on. And he gets up there in Bloomberg. I mean, he says it in his nicest little British accent. Oh, you're going to drive up the debt. It's like, come on. Who do you think is going to do better? Who do you really trust? I love Trump here, man. He's just as Trump as he can be. What does the Wall Street Journal know? They've been wrong about everything. I love it. A couple topics were broached, right? They covered a lot of issues. They went to the border, the economy, but what really caught my eye in the beginning was him talking about the election. And one of the stories he brought up was that Virginia voter roll story. I'm sure you've heard this. The state of Virginia wanted to remove illegal aliens from the voter roll, and the DOJ decided to sue them for that.
I just haven't gotten over something the Justice Department did yesterday, where Virginia cleaned up its voter rolls and got rid of thousands and thousands of bad votes, and the Justice Department sued them that they should be allowed to put those bad votes and illegal votes back in and let the people vote. So I haven't gotten over that. A lot of people have seen that. They can't even believe it.
I haven't gotten over that. A lot of people have seen it. I just can't believe it. That's Donald Trump talking about this lawsuit that has been filed against the state of Virginia. And it's a crazy story. I'm sure you've heard the other guys talking about it. We mentioned it a little bit as well. But Glenn Youngkin, the governor of Virginia, is slamming the DOJ for suing Virginia over removing non-citizens from voter rolls. Wasn't it just a couple days ago, Mayorkas is saying, we would never import people to vote. We would never encourage illegal immigration so they could vote. Yet at the same time, Virginia's governor, Glenn Youngkin, is slamming Biden and Harris's Department of Justice because they're suing the state over implementing what the administration called a systemic removal of non-citizen voters too close to the election. But the crazy thing here is that this Virginia law requiring this removal process, it's been happening since 2006. Glenn Youngkin was on CNN, and he was schooling Jake Tapper on exactly what's happening here and the DOJ's efforts to block Virginia from removing non-citizens, illegal aliens from its voter rolls.
Why not just honor that 90-day period?
Well, let me just first begin. It's anything but a purging program. It begins with someone identifying themselves as a non-citizen. And I guess I would posit back to you Do you think that non-citizens, when they've self-identified as a non-citizen, should stay on the voter roll and therefore be in a position to potentially vote in a presidential election?
I don't think any non-citizen should vote. How are they self-identifying? How does that happen?
They actually tick a box that says, I am a non-citizen, or they do not answer the question that they are a citizen, and therefore they self-identify that they are not a citizen in the United States of America. And this is why this is so out of bounds in my mind from the Justice Department. They fully understand this. They understand the process starts with a person self-identifying as a non-citizen, and then there is a match with that person's name on the voter rolls, and they are given not just one, but up to 3 times in order to try to cure it. And this is why I find this to be a very, very unreal moment that is stunning, that they filed this suit 25 days before a presidential election, when in fact this has been going on in accordance with our Constitution, the federal Constitution, and state law since 2006.
It's been happening since 2006, but it's a problem now because they're worried about the state of Virginia going for Trump, right? So this law has been on the books since 2006 to remove people from voter rolls who, and I quote, self-identify as non-citizens. They are self-identifying as non-citizens, and the DOJ is suing the state to keep them on the voter rolls. Can you make that make sense? Does that make any sense to you? It doesn't make any sense to me, and they filed the suit 25 days before a presidential election. It just feels like election interference to me. Does it feel like election interference to you? So anyone who is a non-citizen and identifies as such when they go to the DMV to register to vote in the state of Virginia is required by law to be removed from the rolls within 30 days. They use this same method leading up to the 2020 election. No big deal. But now it's an issue. Again, feels like election interference, does it not? On the other side of the country, you got Gavin Newsom, and he's making it illegal for you to ask for an ID when people vote. He's got this crazy voter ID law, and that came up as well. You got to talk voter ID, right? And Trump calls him Gavin Newsom, and the host, the editor-in-chief over at Bloomberg, actually corrects Trump. It's a pretty funny moment.
How about this? Gavin Newsom, he's the governor of California.
Newsom.
He signed Newsom, I call him.
But do you think...
No, he corrected me. He corrected me. I said, that's the first time I've been corrected.
There are CEOs out here, if they said those sort of things about a rival CEO, they'd be sacked. Do you think it's fine for a president?
But they don't have to survive like me. They don't have to go through what I have to go through. There's never been a president that's been treated like me, so I have to fight my own way.
Love that.
You made a.
I gotta fight my own way.
You made a very good job of.
He signed a bill in California 2 days ago that you don't even have the right to ask a person for voter ID. And if you ask a person for voter ID, of course you have to show voter ID. The only reason you wouldn't do it because they want to cheat. The bill says you cannot, it's against the law for you to ask a person, may I please see your voter ID when he votes? What is our country coming to?
Yeah. What is our country coming to? So on both sides of the country, you got the DOJ suing Virginia. On the other side, you're not allowed to ask for an ID. What is the country coming to? Oh, we don't want non-citizens to vote in the election, guys. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Okay. Are you keeping score at home? I hope you're keeping score at home. And then the question came up that always comes up with Trump when he's dealing with media that doesn't like him, which it happens to be the majority of the media, about a peaceful transfer of power. A peaceful transfer of power.
Only 3 weeks to go to the election. Will you commit now to respecting and encouraging a peaceful transfer of power?
Well, you had a peaceful transfer of power.
You had a peaceful transfer of power. You had a peaceful... Come on, President Trump. You had a peaceful transfer of power compared with Venezuela, but it was by far the worst transfer of power for a long time.
Thank you. I appreciate that, because this is what they like to do. This is what they like to do. And you know, it's very interesting.
The question, President Trump, is would you respect the decision?
When I found out about this interview, I did a little check. This is a man that has not been a big Trump fan over the years. So I had a choice. Do I do this interview or not? I'm glad I did it. But do I do this interview or do I disappoint a lot of people? Because I know a lot of people in the audience. But his view is very different than mine. Let me just tell you.
I'm asking you a question, Trustro.
We had a term, peacefully and patriotically. These were people. If you think an election is crooked, and I do, 100%, if you think the day it comes when you can't protest, you take a look at the Democrats. They protested 2016. They're still protesting it.
Right.
Nobody talks about them. But if we protest, we want to have honest elections.
That shouldn't be a big ask, but it is. It certainly feels like it is. And my favorite part of that clip was when he goes, and I do 100% believe the election was rigged. I love it. I love it. I'm here for it. Donald Trump at the Economic Club of Chicago. They cover a lot more topics from the border to the economy. And I want to play some of those clips of Trump on the economy. And I want to also play the clips of Kamala Harris at her audio town hall talking about the economy. The differences between the two are insane. Insane. You got one guy who really knows what he's talking about, and you got a lady who is just giving you a buffet of word salad. I'll bring you those clips on the way. It's 9:51 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, if you need a fence, if you got kids, you got pets, you need a good fence, call the best. Call Kingdom Fence Company. They want to let their fence tell the story of your land. Whether you need residential, commercial, farm, agricultural, they do it all. New, repair, or insurance claims. Everything from chain link to privacy to vinyl to aluminum to dog fence to pool fence. They got you covered. 615-390-5891. Ask for my friend, the owner, Dave. He'll take good care of you. 615-390-5891. Kingdom Fence Company, LLC.com.
Up ahead in the news, how police captured a murder suspect so quickly after an attack on a jogger in Antioch. Also, video text messages show Impact Plastics employees were at work much later than first thought when Hurricane Helene flooded the plant. Those stories coming up at 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan. It's 9:58 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. So yesterday we had two big interviews. Kamala Harris doing a radio town hall with Charlemagne of The Breakfast Club from Power 105 in New York, syndicated everywhere, and Donald Trump doing an interview with Bloomberg. Both of these candidates talked about the economy. This is how Donald Trump sounded when he brought it up.
Why should they trust you with that?
Because we're about growth. She's got no growth whatsoever, and we're all about growth. We're going to bring companies back to our country. You look at even today, as I was driving over, I see these empty, old, beautiful, like steel mills and factories that are empty and falling down. Some have been converted to senior citizens' homes, but that's not going to do the trick. And we're going to bring the companies back. We're going to lower taxes still further for companies that are going to make their product in the USA. We're going to protect those companies with strong tariffs because I'm a believer in tariffs. I'm not sure that you are. I don't think you are, but I congratulate you on your career. But to me, the most beautiful word in the dictionary is tariff, and it's my favorite word. It needs a public relations firm to help it, but to me, it's the most beautiful word in the.
That's Donald Trump talking about his vision for the economy, right? Let's play Kamala Harris and her vision for the economy.
As it relates to the economy, which is a lot of what you have addressed. Look, I grew up in the middle class. My mother, worked hard, raised me and my sister, and by the time I was in high school, she was able to afford our first home.
Yeah, Kamala on the economy. Well, I grew up in the middle class. I felt like, you remember that clip of Donald Trump finding out that Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed away? That's how I feel whenever I hear Kamala Harris say I grew up in the middle class. It's like, wow, I'm hearing this for the first time. I didn't know that. But the main purpose of that radio town hall for Kamala Harris was because she's tanking in the polls when it comes to black support. That's the real reason that she sat down with Charlemagne. That was the main focus of the town hall. And we'll bring you what she had to say to the black community when we get back. It's 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. It's now 10 o'clock, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Currently, we are looking at 50 degrees. We're only getting up to 61. Later on, the forecast is still to come. Metro Police got an assist from the public in its search for a man who attacked and killed a woman at Antioch's Greenway Park. That happened Monday night. Channel 4's Dryden Quigley on what happened there.
Alyssa Lockett was running down the Creek Mill Greenway when police say she was seemingly attacked by a stranger and dragged over to these woods. That's where witnesses heard her screaming for help. Minutes later, they said there was gunfire. When police got to her, they found Lockett had been shot in the head. She was taken to Vanderbilt, where she died.
A bystander captured video of Paul Park of Brentwood running to his car after the incident, and a police officer who viewed that video happened to know him. They were able to arrest Park quickly. He'll make a court appearance tomorrow. Text messages between an Impact Plastics supervisor and his daughter show workers were still at the factory long after Hurricane Helene floodwaters swamped that plant. Johnny Peterson's daughter, Alexa, says he sent a video of the flooded parking lot at 10:44 a.m. That's an hour and a half after the National Weather Service issued a flash flood warning, telling people to seek higher ground immediately.
He said that at that point they better shut the plant down, but they had not.
And it wasn't long after that text that he was swept away. She has filed a lawsuit against the company. Market Numbers Report brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. We've got the Dow up 191 points right now. The Nasdaq, however, has turned negative. It's down 21 points, and the S&P is up by 4. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
.05 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. I got a text, and I'm gonna give Mason an assignment. James texted in, and he says, whenever Kamala Harris says she was born in the middle class, all I can hear is Steve Martin in The Jerk saying I was born a poor black child. So I'm gonna need you to find that audio for me, all right? And
Steve Martin in The Jerk, right?
Yeah. Get it loaded up. Get it loaded up, because now that's the only thing I can hear. Thanks, James, for the text. 615-737-9986 if you want to join the conversation. We want you at our big election night party. 997WTN.com. We're going to be at the Wilson County Fairgrounds. Brian will be out there at the Ag Building starting at about 3 o'clock doing his show live. Myself, Mandis Murphy, we're going to be joining the party soon after that. And then we're going. We're going to be going all night. And we're going to find out probably a few days later who wins that presidential election. But we're going to be there partying late. And if you want to get VIP tickets, it's free to come, free to attend. There's going to be vendors. There's going to be food. There's going to be a lot going on, right? But if you want VIP tickets, those you can purchase. And the VIP tickets are actually a pretty good deal, man. You get reserved seating in the front, okay? You get access to a buffet of food. And you also get free drinks all night long. I mean, technically not free. You bought the ticket, but you know what I'm saying. It's all included. All included. You can't beat that deal.
That's such a good deal. Like I told you yesterday, I'm considering getting in.
I think it's like only $100. 997WTN.com.
We could be in the front row together.
You can easily recoup those costs.
Oh, easy.
The ROI.
Easy.
The ROI is definitely there. So 997WTN.com. If you want to get those tickets, 615-737-9986 if you want to join the show. Kamala Harris yesterday, she had to do this town hall. She had to do a town hall with Charlemagne of the Breakfast Club. Now, I think it's smart. I mean, I'm not going to knock her for doing it. You're losing black support in historic numbers, and I'll bring you some audio from CNN in a second. You have to do something, right? And so what she's been doing is she went full weed and promised marijuana legalization, right? She's promised $20,000 to 1 million black entrepreneurs, black males, forgivable loans. What's a forgivable loan? I feel like that's just a check to buy votes, but hey, you do you. That's another thing she promised, but it's still not really moving the needle. It's not. I mean, listen to CBS. This is CBS where you only see CBS, but they're doing interviews, and there's a guy who says, listen, a lot of black males just aren't into the Harris campaign.
The campaign still has real work to do, according to Pastor Charles Williams II. So how would you assess how the vice president's doing with 3 weeks to go?
I mean, look, everybody's worried. I'd be considered a supporter, and I'm worried in regards to what the polling is suggesting and around black men.
Jerry Flynn Dale, who works in the city's hip-hop music industry, feels there hasn't been enough outreach to the black community.
She definitely needs to talk to black males. The hip-hop community needs to hear more from VP Harris about what is her plans and plans of action for black males. A lot of black males are not into the Harris campaign.
I mean, just brutal for the Harris campaign to hear. But he says you got to talk to the hip hop community. So that's what she's doing, right? She's going to Charlemagne. His show is probably the biggest hip hop show in the country. So you have to go meet people where they're at. I'm not knocking that, but she's just so inauthentic, and she's just making promises after promises. And Charlemagne brought this up on the town hall. A pastor called in and said, "You've been criticized for your lack of engagement with the black church. You've been criticized about that." I mean, you heard the pastor in the CBS clip saying, we need to hear more from her. I'm nervous. I will point out, you know who has engaged with the black church? Donald Trump. He engaged with the black church in Detroit. Donald Trump did. I know, weird. But Kamala Harris, she has to do more. The black community is turning away from her in record numbers. So this pastor gets on the radio town hall and he says, you're being criticized for your lack of engagement to the black church.
You've been criticized by him and others for your lack of engagement to the black church. Knowing that the black church is an unrivaled place in the heart of black people, what could you speak to as it relates to a future Harris administration, how you would partner with the black church to address some of the urgent needs of the black community? Dr. King talked about the fierce urgency of right now, and as a church, Triumph Church is in that place.
Well, let me take this one, Kamala, real quick. You're going to be able to engage with the black church by offering abortion on demand, even post-birth. You'll be able to engage with the black church by offering to trans people's kids without parental consent, right? That I'm sure that'll vibe with the black church. Maybe tampons in elementary school boys' bathrooms will vibe with the black church. I say all this in jest because I don't think that vibes with any church. And if it vibes with your church, I'm not sure you're going to the right church. But let's listen to Kamala's answer.
So first of all, that allegation, of course, is coming from the Trump team because they are full of mis and disinformation because they are trying to disconnect me from the people I have worked with and that I am from, so that they can try and have some advantage in this election, because otherwise they have nothing to run on.
Oh yeah, we're trying to divide you from the black church. It's not your policy. Okay. I mean, Trump literally goes and meets with black pastors in Detroit. He goes and he sits down with them in Detroit over the summer. Has Kamala sat down with any black pastors? Has she recently? Has she explained her take on abortion? Has she explained her take on taxpayer-funded trans surgeries? Has she explained her affinity for transing kids without parental consent? I mean, I think that would be one of my first questions if I was a pastor. Black church, white church, Asian church, any church that believes in the word, right? But she doesn't have any answers for that, and she's not going to get that kind of question. All these questions are set up, to be perfectly honest with you. But even CNN acknowledges the problems that Kamala Harris is having with black voters. And it's not it didn't really start with Kamala. It started before that, and it's become a negative trend that when you zoom out and you look at the past few elections for Democrats, from Barack Obama to Hillary Clinton to Joe Biden to Kamala Harris, the numbers tell a horrifying story for Kamala Harris and black support.
Young black men in particular. Sometimes there's a trend line. You know, I look at the polls all the time, and sometimes there's a trend line that I never noticed before and make me go, whoa. This is one of them, all right? This is the Democratic margin among black men under the age of 45 in presidential elections. You go back to November of 2012, what do you see? You see Obama by 81. Clinton only won him by 63. Then we're all the way down to Biden last time around by 53. A tremendous drop already. And then you take a look at the average of the most recent polls, and Kamala Harris is up by only 41 points. That is about half the margin that Obama won them by back in November of 2012. And this, I think, is, you know, when Barack Obama goes in last week when he was in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, essentially talking to young black men, he made it seem like it was a Kamala Harris specific problem. This is part of a long-standing trend of young black men moving away from the Democratic Party, and Kamala Harris is just the latest to face that magnitude of younger black men going towards the Republicans.
It's insane. So just to recap the numbers, Obama won the black men vote 18 to 44 by 81 points, plus 81. Hillary Clinton, that was in 2012. Hillary Clinton in 16, plus 63. Biden in 2020, plus 53. Kamala Harris today, plus 41. This is a Democrat Party issue. Black voters are waking up en masse that the Democrat Party only cares about your vote once every 4 years. They only care about you when they need you. And after that, guess what? We're moving on to something else. Exactly. I'm from the middle class, you know. Thank you, Mason. No, you're not. It's crazy. But these numbers are troubling. So that's men, 18 to 44. Obama in 2012, plus 81. Clinton in 16, plus 63. Biden in 2020, plus 53. Harris today, plus 41. Catastrophic decline.
What's most interesting here is the trend line and where some of the biggest drops happened or already happened in this case. How about black men overall?
It's part of the same picture, you know. We're looking once again, if younger black men, it looks like the worst Democratic performance since 1960, since JFK versus Richard Nixon. It's the same thing among black men overall. Again, part of a similar trend, but here actually the drop-off isn't as dramatic, right? Barack Obama won him by 85, then you see 71 with Clinton, 69, Biden, basically the same thing, holding steady. But here, again, very, very weak, only a 54-point margin. Now, again, still winning them by a large margin, but considerably lower than what we're used to, certainly considerably lower what we had during the Obama years. The bottom line is Kamala Harris with younger black men and then black men overall putting in historically weak performance for a Democratic candidate.
Is she getting it?
And that's why she needs to go sit down with Charlemagne and have a radio town hall and hit that younger black male audience. She has to do something. Black men overall. Obama won them by plus 85 in November of 2012. Clinton, plus 71. Biden in 2020, plus 69. Harris today, plus 54. You think about that drop from Obama in 2012 at plus 85 to Harris today at plus 54. It's insane.
Any relief with black women?
All right. So, you know, we're talking about the trend line, right? And black women, look, she's doing better with black women than she is doing among black men. But here, there isn't a trend line almost until we get to Kamala Harris. So, again, this is a black margin among black women. Look, Obama won him by 93, very large margin. Clinton won him by 93, a very large margin. Biden did a little bit worse at 85. But then you look here, and you get a 71-point margin. Now, again, these are large margins, but the bottom line is when you're talking about the base of the Democratic Party, you would think that Kamala Harris would do very well among black women based upon history, and of course she would be the first black woman president, but she's actually doing the worst for a Democratic candidate among black women since 1960 if this holds, John.
And again,
it's insane. Obama won black women by plus 93. Harris today sitting at plus 71. That is a wild, wild drop. So she has to do something. She has to. And what she does is she goes on this radio town hall with Charlemagne and she plays the race card. I know. Shocker. You got to play the race card. And when you're playing the race card, what comes up? Well, the summer of love and George Floyd. Of course. Of course.
I'd like to ask Madam Vice President what laws does she have planned to make sure that there's a stop to police brutality and murders that have been going on viciously?
So again, the work that
I do want to point out, do you hear how that call was edited? That's not a live call. You can hear it clip at the end of that. Let's listen to the caller. And maybe this is too much inside baseball, but like me, I'm just like, wow, that was not only was it edited, it was a poor edit. Listen to the way it clips right at the end of that.
Plan to make sure that there's a stop to police brutality and murders that have been going on viciously.
So again, the work that I have done through my career, and then most recently, even when I was in the United States Senate, to help write the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. Cory Booker and I work very closely on that.
Could you tell people why that didn't pass through? Give folks a quick civics lesson.
We couldn't get the votes in Congress. There's a clip somewhere of me fighting with a Republican senator to actually, to actually get it passed. We couldn't get it passed.
I'd like to.
Yeah, we couldn't get it passed, and thank goodness they didn't. The George Floyd Justice and Policing Act was going to demonize police officers, hinder their ability to do their job, limit capacity to respond to calls. It would have been disastrous. You know what? Maybe we should try and call an expert on that one. You should see if we can get Sergeant Betsy Smith on the phone.
Ooh, yeah, that would be a good contact. Yeah. Let me reach out real quick.
She's was in the weeds on all of this, the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act.
Yeah, give me a second.
Yeah. See if we can get her on the line. And I want to let's relitigate the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act that Kamala Harris is bragging about, and also blaming evil Republicans for it not passing. Because I think that's a conversation that needs to be had. She goes on this radio town hall, and she just pushes the race card, which, I mean, we knew was going to happen. Let's not kid ourselves, right? We knew that was going to be the case. But she had a lot more to say. She had a lot more to say. She understands she's underwater with black voters. She understands that. She understands. One caller asked her if her new agenda is just a political play for black men during the election. Gee, you think? I'll bring you that clip next. Also, Eric on the line wants to talk about the black vote, and Steve wants to talk about Kamala. We'll get to those calls as well. Hang out with us, guys. It's 1021 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name's Chris Hand, and my friends at United Structural Systems, they will guarantee their best. That's why they're USS. What do? Well, they can help you with anything that is related to foundation issues at your home or waterproofing at your home, and they've been doing it since 1994. No other company in Middle Tennessee is going to bring the decades of experience that USS will bring to your home. And if you're getting water inside your home, you need to handle it quick. It could be something small, it could be something huge, but you're not going to know until you talk to an expert. And the guys at USS, they have no problem telling you that it's not a big deal. That's what I love about them the most. They'll say, yeah, this is nothing, don't worry about it. But if it's something big, you want to have somebody there that you can trust. And you can trust the guys at USS. If you're noticing standing water in your crawl space, wet basement walls, cracks in your basement floors, that's your house trying to tell you something. Call the company with 25,000 satisfied customers. Call my guys at USS, 615-488-7855, 615-488-7855. United Structural Systems, online at USSTN.com.
Up ahead in the news, the 2 men charged in the Jefferson Street shooting make a court appearance today. Also, why demolition crews are seen in downtown Nashville. Those stories coming up at 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan. 10:26 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We do have Betsy Smith, Sergeant Betsy, lined up to join us at 10:35 to talk about that comment that Kamala made about the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act that never passed, and what it would have looked like if it had. What this country might look like for police officers if Kamala wins. Betsy Smith will be joining us at 10:35. Looking forward to that. So as she's doing this town hall, Kamala Harris is asked by a caller, and I use air quotes because I don't think any of these callers were live, whether or not her new agenda is a political play for black men during an election.
So yesterday I read that there is a new opportunity agenda, a plan for black men, which includes a proposal of forgivable loans up to $20,000 for 1 million black entrepreneurs. What would you say to the people that would consider the timing of this proposal as political timing? And how would you speak to the sentiment that support for black men is only sought out during election cycles and feels that building trust requires consistent engagement and genuine investment into the community outside of election periods and political benefits for politicians, and may view that some people in the Democrat Party use black Americans to play identity politics?
So first of all, thank you for your question and for being here. I've been in this race about 70 days. You can look at all my work before those 70 days to know that what I'm talking about right now is not new and is not for the sake of winning this election.
Oh, all right. That's good. Let's look at the work before the last 70 days, shall we? And let's enlist Tulsi Gabbard to help us look at that work from before the last 70 days.
Senator Harris says she's proud of her record as a prosecutor and that she'll be a prosecutor president, but I'm deeply concerned about this record. There are too many examples to cite, but she put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana. She blocked evidence. She blocked evidence that would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. And she fought to keep cash bail system in place that impacts poor people in the worst kind of way.
I mean, you could just let them destroy themselves, right? Tulsi Gabbard, former Democrat. That was on the debate stage in 2020 during the Democrat primaries in Detroit. That is what effectively,
Senator Harris says she's proud
that's
of
what
her
effectively ended Kamala Harris's campaign in 2020. And I don't know, you want to tell me that this isn't a political play? Well, why haven't you done it since you've been in office? If it's not a political play and it's something you believe in, you're the vice president now, Kamala. Why wait? Oh, that's right, because it's a political play. Yeah, shocker. We'll talk to Sergeant Betsy Smith after the news with Joan Jones on the comments Kamala made on the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act. It was one big interview to try and win over the black vote. I don't think it worked. I don't think it worked at all. You know, she's promising what she'll do for one group. I'd like to hear what she'll do for all Americans personally. We didn't get much of that yesterday, though. We'll talk to Sergeant Betsy Smith next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Well, hello there. It's 10:30 now, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. We're looking at 50 degrees and fair skies, a high of 61. Stick around for the full forecast in a couple of minutes. Well, 2 alleged gang members are getting their first day in court in Nashville today. Marquez Davis and D'Anthony Brown arrested for the shooting that broke out as people were celebrating TSU's homecoming last weekend. Police say 2 gangs were shooting at each other on opposite sides of Jefferson Street. 1 person was killed, 9 others injured. Demolition crews have begun clearing out a tent city that included some hand-built homes near downtown between Hermitage Avenue and the Cumberland River. Nashville officials said those homes are unsafe, and the people who live there were given since September to find new housing. offering help finding short-term fixes. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis says about 100,000 customers are still without power in the aftermath of Hurricane Milton. That's down, though, from more than 3 million just after Milton passed. In the meantime, there's news about that dog that's named Trooper.
We have an update on the dog that captured hearts during Hurricane Milton. Trooper was found standing in water tied to a fence along Interstate 75. Authorities say they've identified the dog's owner, who will now face animal cruelty charges, which could carry a 5-year prison sentence. The owner is quoted saying he couldn't find anyone to watch the dog while he evacuated before the storm.
And Trooper, by the way, is in the hands of a foster family now. Well, if it feels like gasoline is costing you more, you are right.
For months, gas prices have been mostly inching down, but in the past week, they've bumped back up about 4 cents a gallon, analysts say, because of back-to-back storms, Hurricane Helene and Hurricane Milton, and the prices should level back out, barring any more storms. The Energy Department reports in the past week the average price of regular unleaded rose to $3.17 a gallon, still, though, 41 cents a gallon less than at this time last year. Alex Stone, EBC News.
The cheapest gas around here, $2.44 at the Kroger in Goodlettsville. Stocks are running mixed right now. Dow Jones Industrial's up 202, but the Nasdaq is down a fraction. S&P 500 index is up 9. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Thank you, Joan. $10:33 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm Chris Hand. Let me tell you about my friend Shane Ring over at Cover Nash. It's that time of the year, right? And if you pay for your own health insurance or if you're looking for coverage, don't waste your time going online because you're just going to get endless calls from call centers for quotes, and it's not going to stop. But call Shane. Shane's an expert in the industry with over 20 years of experience, and he can provide you advice for your health insurance needs, no matter what those needs are. If you're uninsured, underinsured, if you own a small business, or if you're just paying too much, their plans, if you qualify, will let you pick your own doctor and are 30 to 60% lower in cost than Obamacare. The monthly premiums are independent of your income, so there's going to be no surprise tax bill. So again, if you're paying for your own health insurance, if you own a small business, if you're uninsured, if you're on COBRA, or if your coverage is just too pricey, call my friend Shane Ring over at Cover Nash, 615-465-0023. Talk to an expert, 615-465-0023, or you can hit up his website, covernash.com. That's covernash.com.
Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live.
1036 on Super Talk, 99.7 WTN. I'm Chris Hand. How you doing? You can find me on Twitter, True Social, and Instagram. All of them are the same, at Chris Hand on air. Hit the follow button. I will follow back. We got a heck of a party happening. Our election night party, Wilson County Fairgrounds. We want you there. It's free to come, or you can get VIP tickets that include food and drinks and reserved seating at 997WTN.com. So Kamala Harris was doing a town hall with Charlemagne. And the question came up about police brutality. And Kamala flexed. She flexed in the question and said, well, you know, I wrote the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act.
Madam Vice President, what laws does she have planned to make sure that there's a stop to police brutality and murders that have been going on viciously?
So again, the work that I have done through my career, and then most recently even when I was in the United States Senate, to help write the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. Cory Booker and I work very closely on that.
Could you tell people why that didn't pass through? Give folks a quick civics lesson.
We couldn't get the votes in Congress. Well, there's a clip somewhere of me fighting with a Republican senator to actually, to actually get it passed. We couldn't get it passed.
Yeah, we couldn't get it passed because of those evil Republicans, right? But let's talk about the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. I was of the opinion that this wouldn't have been good for law enforcement, and we've enlisted the help of an expert. Sergeant Betsy Smith is on the line. Sergeant Betsy, thank you so much for joining the show to talk about this. What was the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act?
Well, first of all, I want to talk about what Charlemagne the God said there. He says these vicious murders that are happening, the vicious murders of young African American men are primarily being committed by other young African American men.
Yep.
And they have been, for the murder continues to rise. But the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, Kamala, she is right. She is on tape talking about this. She's also on tape talking about it at Tyree Nichols' funeral with Al Sharpton and Ben Crump, two of the biggest race hustlers in this nation. And what the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act would do, Joe Biden loves to talk about this too, it really wouldn't do a whole lot of good to prevent police brutality and all that. Those situations are best dealt with individually. But they want to start a national police misconduct registry handled by the federal government. They want to ban no-knock warrants because of Breonna Taylor, when in reality, the Breonna Taylor case, the warrant was a knock warrant. They want to ban chokeholds, and the way they're going to ban chokeholds is if you have chokeholds in your agency, you don't get any federal money. They want to give a lot of administrative subpoena power to the Department of Justice in this case. They want to limit qualified immunity to only private civil cases. So if a police officer gets charged with a crime, like we just saw in Travis County, Texas, there would be no qualified immunity. So in other words, that police officer would lose every dime that they had. Now, the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act also talks about that officers must wear body-worn camera, things like that. That only affects federal law enforcement. And I want people to notice that most of your local law enforcement officers wear body-worn cameras. Yep. It's only the police officers that work for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, they tend to not wear body camera. But they want to lower the criminal intent standards from reckless to, from willing to just reckless, willing conduct versus reckless conduct. In other words, they want to put more cops in prison just for doing their job. And that's why Republicans and a number of Democrats wouldn't allow this to pass.
Well, and am I wrong in thinking that in a town like, say, Memphis, if you don't let the police do their job, the citizens of that city aren't going to be safer? They're not going to have a better city?
Well, that's any town in this nation. If you don't let your cops do their job, there's already laws and standards. And remember, they all relate back to the Constitution. Every police officer in this country raises their right hand when they get hired and takes an oath to the Constitution. There are already constitutional standards plus state law, federal law, local law in place to deal with police misconduct. We don't need, this was a law that was pandering, and this all goes, I want to go back to Kamala Harris and Charlemagne the God, where he talks about these vicious murders of people by police officers. That's just not happening in this country. And when it does, for example, the Tyree Nichols case in Memphis, that was committed by who? 5 African-American police officers who killed a young African-American man. You know what? They're all going to go to prison, as they should. But that case in Austin, Texas, that was just decided last week, that was a police officer who shot somebody with a knife who was trying to attack him, and that was done by an activist prosecutor, and that they're going to lose that at appeal. But this false narrative that somehow the American law enforcement officer is the problem when it comes to crime in this country is such nonsense, and I'm stunned that he brought this up in that national interview.
Well, isn't it amazing that it comes up just at the time where we're learning that Kamala Harris is losing a lot of support with black voters? And it makes me wonder, you're vice president now. Why not do something? If it's such a pressing issue, why haven't you done anything the last 3.5 years?
Well, you're absolutely right. If this was a concern in the last 3.5 years, we would have heard a lot more about it. You have seen that at some events, the Biden-Harris administration, they trot out George Floyd's brother, and they bring in Michael Brown's, the Ferguson, Missouri shooting. They bring in Michael Brown's father or mother, and because they want to continue to pander to this small minority of activists who believe that somehow police officers are the problem. And you know what it's doing, Chris, is it's getting us hurt and killed. Officer ambushes are up in the last 10 years over 150%. And part of that is because young people, especially young people of color, are being told that that when you get pulled over, you're going to get killed. That cop's going to kill you. That's not happening, and we see body camera after body camera of police officers who get excoriated for having to use deadly force. When the body camera comes out, we see that they were only trying to save their own lives.
Yep. And it's disgusting. And I do feel bad for those young kids who are having that rhetoric forced into their heads that police officers are hunting them down in the streets like we've heard so many times. And then they tell us that crime is down, and don't worry about it. Crime is actually way down. But you check the recent headlines, and I know you're up to date on this, a slew of carjackings across all major U.S. cities.
Well, yeah, the National Crime Victimization Survey that recently came out is telling us that crime is not down. What's down is the reporting of crime. And so, the FBI, who is supposed to collect all these statistics through the Uniform Crime Reporting Act, they're only getting about 40% of the data. So another part of the federal government does this National Crime Victimization Survey, and they're finding out that you're absolutely right. Crimes like carjacking and car theft are way up, but homicide continues to stay steady. Armed robberies are up, and people aren't reporting crime anymore because they're just so frustrated and demoralized. They don't think anything will happen because, especially in larger urban areas, their police departments are shorthanded. They have district attorneys that don't care to prosecute criminals and are only interested in prosecuting cops or politicians.
Yeah, it's insane. How do we wake people up to the reality of what's happening here? Like if you're talking to a Democrat voter who believes this rhetoric, what do we tell them? How do we shake them awake?
We have about 55 million police citizens interacting every year, and in those interactions, only 1% are arrested. Law enforcement in this country, we end up in deadly force killings. In other words, we kill a bad guy only about 1,000 times a year. And in those situations, it's because they were trying to harm the police officer. We've got to talk about facts. We've got to talk about the real statistics. But we've got to have a brave media like you who is willing to do that. People also need to get involved in their local elections. We're all worried about who's going to be the president and this and that. Look at who your city council is, your mayor is, your county board of supervisors. Look who controls your local law enforcement. That's one of the things, going back to the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, the federal government wants to be able to pass national standards for law enforcement. As a citizen, you don't want that. You want your law enforcement local to you, and you want to have local control via your sheriff, via your mayor, your city council, all of that. Get involved and vote. In November.
Yeah, exactly. We're talking with Sergeant Betsy Brantner Smith, and just to give a brief synopsis on you, dispatcher at 17. You've held positions in patrol, investigations, narcotics, hostage negotiation, crime prevention, a canine and field training. Your resume is extensive, and this is why we wanted to talk to you about this. But you're also based in Arizona, which is a critical swing state. And as you're moving around through Tucson, what's the temperature like on the ground there in regards to the election? What's your vibe?
Well, we are seeing a big interest in reducing crime, in reducing homelessness, and of course for Tucson, Arizona, the border is our number one issue because we end up paying for that with our tax dollars locally. We are housing these illegals, and of course, so we see the illegal alien crime. It's not just in Denver and Chicago and Miami, Trinidad, Agua, and all of that. It's also in Tucson, Arizona, and we see the fentanyl, and we see the frustrations of our citizens.
Have you heard reports that Border Patrol agents may exit en masse if Kamala Harris wins the election? Are you talking to Border Patrol agents on the ground there in Tucson?
Lots of my friends and neighbors are Border Patrol agents, and there is a great deal of frustration by those agents. And yeah, we are hearing that. They need changes because what they end up doing as the Border Patrol, they're no longer doing what they were trained and hired to do, which is protect our sovereign border. What they are doing is they are paper pushers, and they are having to release unvetted people from 120 different countries into their own community. And 1/3 of all illegals come through the Tucson sector where I live. So that's a very frustrated group of agents, and we have heard some of those rumors, absolutely.
It's wild, and I've asked you this question before, but I think it's worth repeating. You are a female. You're in what you said, Tucson, Arizona. 1/3 of the illegal border crossings are there. The crime must be high. How do you keep yourself safe out there, and what advice would you give to women in 2024?
We have got to be aware. We got to get our heads out of our phones. We've got to get armed and trained. In Arizona, we have constitutional carry, and I recommend that every female, and I tell my friends and neighbors this all the time, get trained with a firearm that you're comfortable with, but pay attention to what's going on around you. And unfortunately, there's just certain areas of the city and the county that you have to avoid if you want to stay safe.
It's so sad that that's the reality in America today.
Mm-hmm.
Sergeant Betsy Brantner Smith, how can we support you and your efforts?
If everybody would just go to nationalpolice.org, follow us on X and Facebook, hit that donate button on our website if you can, and see all the great stuff that we're doing. We even have a great homeschool curriculum.
Oh.
We're doing so much good work for parents, for cops, and for people who support their American law enforcement officer.
All right. Hey, the homeschool thing piqued my interest. I'm going to need to talk to you a little bit more about that down the road, okay?
We will do that.
All right, perfect. Sergeant Betsy Brantner Smith, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate you.
Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. It's 10:51 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. And, I asked that question of Sergeant Betsy Brantner Smith, what do you do to stay safe? And she's like, get yourself a firearm and get trained. And if you want to get trained, Train with the experts. Go to my friends at the Glock store. That's where I do my training. That's where I bring my wife to train. That's where I'm telling Mason he needs to go train because it's so different. You have the Shoot 270 indoor training rooms with a private instructor. It's not a lane range when you're standing next to who knows who. You're in a private room with an instructor dealing with real life scenarios. This is the spot to get yourself equipped and ready should anything ever happen. Talk to my friends at the Glock store, and they're always doing something fun over at the Glock store. Right now, during the month of October, they're doing the Spook House, except it's a shoot house, and it's a lot of fun. It's like a haunted house. You're running through there. They're going to give you a Glock to run through the course, and if you have the best time, you might just win a $1,000 custom Glock for being the best shot of the month. It's only going down at the Glock store. There's always a lot of reasons to love the Glock store, and this is definitely one of them. To make it a bit more convenient for you, the Glock store is now open until 7 o'clock on Fridays and Saturdays. The Glock store, minutes from the airport, worth the drive from anywhere. Glockstore.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in, and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
Franklin police warning about something they call distraction thefts. We'll tell you about it at 11 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. It's 10:58 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Trump is doing a town hall on Fox right now. I think they recorded this yesterday. It's all women voters. It's all females. My big takeaway, the set that they're using for the Harris-Faulkner show, it's the Tucker Carlson Today set, just repurposed. Right? Am I right? That looks like the Tucker Carlson set. It looks exactly like it. If I was talking to female voters, you know what I would say? I'll bring your grocery prices down.
Yeah.
And I'll make your community safe again. Because there's only one person with a plan to secure the southern border and empower police, and that's Donald J. Trump. Kamala Harris was asked a few questions about the southern border yesterday during her audio town hall with Charlemagne of the Breakfast Club. And it's crazy. I almost feel bad for the leftists that are calling in and asking these questions. There was one guy that called in and said, Trump is going to round us up and put us in camps. And Kamala essentially said, that's a very real fear. It's a very real fear. That's Kamala on the border. I'm going to bring you that highlight. Plus, I'll bring you what Trump was saying when it comes to the border yesterday at the Economic Club of Chicago with Bloomberg. Very different messages from very different candidates. I'll bring you the highlights next. It's 11 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Eleven o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. All of a sudden, we've got crashes to contend with. We got 165 northbound right before the 24-64 north split. And then a crash in the construction zone, 40 westbound right before you go 65 south. That's right there on the South Loop. And if you've been champing at the bit to cast your ballot in the presidential race, now's the time. Polling places opening now for early voting, and they will be through October 31st. Today, mighty fine weather day for it. Full forecast and traffic coming up in 5 minutes. Right now in Middle Tennessee, Franklin police are warning about something they call distraction thefts at local grocery stores. Officer Ryan Howell in a video posted to X.
And what they're doing is distracting the person to turn away from their shopping cart, and at that time, someone might come behind them and take out their wallet and leave.
Officer Howell said his department's investigating several recent distraction thefts, and as the holidays approach, these type of thefts become more common. Wild America in the Chicago suburb of Hoffman Estates. A caracal, an endangered exotic cat, typically found in parts of Africa and Asia, caught by police. Jill Carnegie with Valley of the Kings Sanctuary and Retreat in Wisconsin is giving the cat a new home and says they can be extremely dangerous.
They can kill a small child, they can kill your cats, they can kill your dogs, and usually as they grow and if they're aggressive, people can't handle them, and so they dump them.
Well, the holiday season has already begun, and some retailers have offered deep discounts earlier this year. And according to a projection from one retail group, it could be a record-setting year in sales. The National Retail Federation says sales could hover around $989 billion this year in the months of November and December. That's up from $956 billion last year. We get more from ABC's Elizabeth Schulze.
Spending is still going up, but it's not going up nearly as fast as the 3 years coming out of the pandemic. It is very clear that shoppers are price conscious and they are searching for the best discounts. So when you look at where some of the categories are, where prices are dropping the most over the past year, think of TVs, toys and games, and sporting goods.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says he is not interested in a unilateral ceasefire in Lebanon. He rejected the idea in a call with France's president, saying that would only allow Hezbollah to regroup and rearm. Netanyahu saying he will continue to fight Hezbollah until they are no longer a threat to northern Israel. For more than a year, the Iranian-backed militia has been firing on Israel.
The Israeli army renewing its airstrikes on Beirut after a 5-day pause. The IDF says it struck an arms warehouse under an apartment in the neighborhood of Dakheh, a Hezbollah stronghold. Airstrikes also hitting southern Lebanon, the towns of Kana and Nabatea. The IDF says its forces have killed dozens of Hezbollah fighters, destroyed bunkers, and found weapon caches. Lebanon reporting at least 21 killed, including women and children.
That's Jordana Miller and the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
.05 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. We got a heck of an election party happening November 5th. We want you there. It's going to be so much fun, as all of our parties are. Wilson County Fairgrounds, Lebanon, Tennessee. Brian Wilson doing his entire show out there. Myself, Mandis Murphy, the whole squad is going to be popping in, jumping on the air with them. And then we're going to be going all night long. All night long. And we want you there. It's free to join. There's plenty of room. We're going to have food vendors and all that kind of stuff. But if you want to get VIP tickets for the event, well, you can get those at 997WTN.com. It's not a lot, and you get a lot of value with it. The VIP ticket includes food and beverages. It includes the alcohol for the 21 and up crowd. You'll get VIP seating and WTN goodie bags for all of our VIPs, and you can get those tickets at 997WTN.com. I hope you do. Get your seat locked in. Get that food and the drinks covered. It's going to be a fun night. We want you there. So Kamala Harris did her radio town hall yesterday with Charlemagne, and the topic of the border came up. At the same time, Trump yesterday was with the Economic Club of Chicago with Bloomberg News, and the border came up for them as well. Very different conversations when it comes to the border from very different candidates. At one point during the radio town hall with Kamala, a caller is worried that Trump is going to round up anyone who doesn't look white and put them in camps. This really happened.
Could you please respond to Trump's claim that he's going to use the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 to round up immigrants if he wins the election? This law was last used to put Asian Americans in internment camps during World War II, and I have a sneaking suspicion that if Trump wins, he's going to use this law to put anyone that doesn't look white in camps, and I'm scared.
Yeah, so you've hit on a really important point and expressed it, I think, so well, which is he is achieving his intended effect to make you scared. He is running full time on a campaign that is about instilling fear.
This is the same woman who just the other day at a rally said Trump was going to use the army to round up anybody that doesn't think like him, right? Trump is using fear. The caller said Trump is going to use this law to put anyone who doesn't look white in camps, and I'm scared. And I don't know about you. The guy sounded white, right? Like he sounded like a white guy. So I don't know why you would be scared. I don't know why anybody would be scared unless you're an illegal alien gang member. You've crossed into this country illegally and committed crimes. I don't think you'd have anything to worry about. But Kamala Harris says Trump is running. He's running a campaign of fear. That's what he wants to do. He wants to scare you. That mean man. He wants to scare you. Insane. It didn't stop there. It didn't stop there at all. Charlemagne, to his credit, he did ask if the Biden administration deserves some of the blame for the border. I know. I was as shocked as you are. Does the Biden administration deserve some blame for the border? Well, who was the border czar?
But doesn't the Biden administration have to take some blame for the border, though? A lot of the blame? Because, I mean, the first 3 years, y'all did get a lot of things wrong with the border.
No, Charlemagne, within hours of being inaugurated, the first bill we passed before we did the Inflation Reduction Act, before we did the Bipartisan Infrastructure Act, before we did the Safer Communities Act to deal with gun violence, first thing we dropped was a bill to fix the broken immigration system.
Yeah, you wanted mass amnesty. I think it's important to relitigate this because they did a lot on day one. They ended catch and release. They reinstated catch and release. They ended Remain in Mexico. The CBP One app. I mean, we can go down the list. I mean, you don't even have to take my word for it. You can listen to guys in the Biden-Harris administration like Alejandro Mayorkas bragging about it in 2021 on MSNBC.
And I'd like to understand from you what Trump-era immigration policies have been banned, ended, reversed, and if any investigations are underway by you.
So we have rescinded so many Trump immigration policies, it would take so much time to list them.
Yeah, exactly. They scrapped everything that worked. So does the Biden administration, the Biden-Harris administration deserve some blame? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely they do. We were on a course to having this problem settled completely under Donald Trump. But then Biden and Harris got in and they said, we're going to go the other way. And we're going to open the borders and we're going to incentivize everyone to come. We'll give them free hotel rooms, free phones, free money. Yeah, the Biden administration and Harris herself deserve a lot of that blame. Harris was the border czar. She was. Charlemagne asked Kamala why President Trump calls her the border czar.
Why do you allow him to call you the border czar when that's not even that wasn't your
I'm
role?
not giving him permission for that.
Oh, you're right. But I mean, you don't push back on it because that wasn't your role.
Fact checkers have made that clear.
Oh yeah, fact checkers have made it clear that I wasn't the border czar. Yeah, we love the fact checkers, don't we? The fact checkers are always a day late and $1 short because, you just, again, a fifth grader could do this kind of research. Here's Joe Biden appointing Kamala Harris the border czar.
The VP today, because she's the most qualified person to do it, to lead our efforts with Mexico and the Northern Triangle and the countries that help. We're going to need help in stemming the movement of so many folks stemming the migration to our southern border.
Oh, yeah. You were in charge of stemming the migration to the southern border. I mean, that's your boss, right? That's the guy who's was mentally fit for the last 3 years, right? It takes no time at all to debunk these claims. No time at all. I mean, even liberal outlets like Axios referred to Kamala Harris as the border czar. when she was named the border czar. And the difference between these two candidates and how they're talking about the border couldn't be any different. It couldn't be any different. Trump at a Georgia rally yesterday, after the Economic Club of Chicago, he went to Georgia. They've been saying that Trump is hiding, right? He's hiding. Yeah, well, he hid on stage in Chicago, and then he hid at a rally in Georgia. He's terrible at hide and seek. But at his rally in Georgia, Trump talking about the border sounds completely different than Kamala talking about the border.
For 4 straight years, Kamala has imported an army of illegal alien gang members and migrant criminals from prisons and jails and insane asylums and the worst mental institutions anywhere in the world, not South America, all over the world.
Yep.
They come from Venezuela, they come from the Congo in Africa, and she has resettled them very nicely into our communities to prey upon our innocent American citizens, right? When I win on November 5th, the migrant invasion ends and the restoration of our country begins. It's going to be a restoration.
Yep. And that's what people are looking for. The headline, the front page of the New York Post the other day was "Pay for Prey," and it was all the illegal aliens on the cover. Insanity. Border Patrol agents are saying that there will be an exodus if Kamala Harris wins. Not doing this bleep again, one Border Patrol agent was quoted. 4 years of hell, said one agent who is nowhere near retirement, by the way. I'm not doing it if Kamala's elected. Another agent said lots of guys who can retire will go. If Trump wins, they'll stay. It's insane. You have to trust the people on the ground that are seeing this in real time. On Monday, the Border Patrol Union, the National Border Patrol Council, endorsed Trump. The Border Patrol has suffered a ridiculous amount of turnover. The morale is at basement levels under the Biden-Harris administration, according to insiders. And the agency has shed more than 4,000 personnel since October 2020. They only have about 19,000 employees now. And more will leave if Harris is elected. So the border's not going to get better. The border will get worse. And under Biden-Harris, all we know is the border getting worse. We mentioned this also during the interview with Sergeant Betsy Smith a little while ago. There's a memo, an internal memo that was going around that states 30% of Border Patrol's surveillance system cameras are broken. 30% of the cameras at the border don't work. It's nice, right? Who needs that? Nearly 1/3 of the cameras in the U.S. Customs and Border Protection primary surveillance system along the U.S. southern border are unserviceable. This is according to an internal agency memo sent in early October. So, if you're game planning this out, that means that illegal aliens have a better chance of getting into the country undetected because there's no cameras there to see them. Weird. But don't worry, day one, Kamala will fix it. She'll take all those illegal aliens and she'll wave a wand and they'll be citizens. Why not? Why not, right? President Trump had a different take on the border. And people say, he doesn't want immigrants. But at the Economic Club of Chicago with Bloomberg, he said, no. I'm fine with immigrants if they come legally. Yeah, that's the big deal.
I want a lot of people to come into our country, but I want them to come in legally. I don't want to have...
But that means...
And you notice the crowd in Chicago are firmly behind Trump.
That means you will have to deport... you are talking about deporting 11 million people. That is a lot of people to take out.
It came out last week that 425,000 people are horrible criminals at the highest level. But it came out that 13,099 were let in during their administration. They tried to say longer, wrong. Over the last 3.5 years, 13,000 plus people came in, murderers. They're in jail for murder. Some were having the death penalty. They were all released into our country. 13,099 people were released into our country. We had drug dealers released.
Yep.
We had street gangs released. Look at what's happening in Aurora. But now I don't have to go with Aurora anymore. Look at what happened last night in Times Square, where rough migrants from all over the place. You know, it's not just South America. We have people coming in from the Congo, large numbers from the Congo and Africa. They came in, as of last night, I was speaking to Tom Homan, 180 countries. People came in. They came from prisons and jails. They came from mental institutions and insane asylums, a step above. They came from the terrorists. We had large numbers of terrorists come in. When I was president, we had the strongest border in the history of a country. I built hundreds of miles of wall, and walls work, by the way.
Trump is right. I know you probably get tired of hearing me say that, but Trump is right. He has the numbers to back it up. He has the reports to prove what he's saying. Even the Bloomberg editor-in-chief, who clearly dislikes the man, has no room to fact-check him because everything he's saying here is 100% true.
Hundreds of miles. We had the best numbers we've ever had. Now we have the worst numbers. And here's the problem. We have some of the worst criminals in the world coming in. Now, Venezuela, their crime has gone down at levels that nobody's ever seen before because they've taken their street gangs and their drug dealers and they've emptied their prisons. Not fully because they can't get enough buses. They've emptied their prisons. They load up the buses and they drive them into the United States and they're dropping their prisoners into our country. Their crime is down. Their numbers are crazy how low it's dropped. I heard 72, 74%. They've taken their gangs, they've taken their criminals off the street, they've taken their people out of mental institutions, which cost them a fortune, and they've taken them and dropped them into the United States of America. Those people have to be returned. We can't live with thousands of murderers and not.
He's right. He's right. You can't stay. You can't stay. And come November 5th, I think every illegal alien in this country, which is a lot of them, are going to be put on notice. It's time to pack your bags. It's time to go home. It's 11:21 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand, and this is a paid endorsement for my friends at Paul Winkler, Inc. Healthcare is one of the biggest expenses that you're going to face in retirement. And with so many different Medicare options, making that wrong choice is costly. You don't want to make the wrong choice. So Paul is bringing in a Medicare expert, Christine Mather, from the State Health Insurance Assistance Program to help explain this complicated part of retirement. This is a workshop that he's doing. It's a practical workshop, and it's going to cover all the core aspects of Medicare, what it is, what it covers, what it doesn't, what it costs, and how to enroll. They'll also talk about long-term health care and how to best take care of your health throughout retirement. There's a lot of different Medicare plans, but many have hidden problems, and some agents are going to be biased depending on which providers they sell for. So you need to be able to understand Medicare for yourself. What's the difference between a supplemental plan and an advantage plan? What are the pros? What are the cons? Which one is right for you? Discuss Medicare with an unbiased source from the state of Tennessee and be confident you're getting the straight facts. You can sign up for that workshop today at paulwinkler.com and then click on the webinars tab. That's paulwinkler.com. Click on the webinars tab.
Got a multi-vehicle crash backing up the South Loop going westbound all the way to 24 and then down. That is a crash going westbound on the South Loop. The 29-year-old accused Antioch Greenway killer. We'll tell you how police say they caught him coming up at 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken. It's 11:25 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. You can find me on Twitter, True Social, Instagram. All of them are the same. At Chris Hand on air. Hit the follow button. I will follow back. That's where I be sharing my memes. So if you like memes.
You are the memes master, dude.
I'm but a humble meme farmer, and I tend to my fields. I tend to the fields. At Chris Hand on air. Whichever your preferred platform is, other than Facebook. I don't do the Facebook. Sorry.
Yeah, Facebook memes are a little, they're a little out there.
Yeah, they get, yeah.
I still have my farm town.
You still got farm town? you watering them plants digitally?
I try to make words in my strawberry field.
I love it. I love it. So yesterday we had Kamala Harris doing a radio town hall. We had Donald Trump at the Economic Club of Chicago. He also did a rally in Georgia. I mean, terrible at hiding. The Democrats like to say he's hiding. He's terrible at it. So I think hide and seek is the only thing he's lost. But we had shocking revelations from Kamala Harris when it comes to the economy and her views. I mean, stop me if you've heard this before.
As it relates to the economy, which is a lot of what you have addressed. Look, I grew up in the middle class.
Well, yeah. All right, I'll stop it then. I think we have heard it before. Every time she says this, it's like, come on. I mean, she essentially did verbatim what SNL made fun of her for doing just over the weekend. SNL roasted her for the middle class line.
Name something that you keep in your glove compartment. Oh, VP Harris.
Steve, look. I was raised in a middle-class family, all right?
Oh, here we go.
Okay.
I mean, even SNL understands that this is a joke. The best memes I've seen are Donald Trump after Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed away. They're using Kamala. It says, I grew up in the middle class. And then right after, it's like, wow, I'm just hearing this. You're telling me for the first time. I didn't know that. Yeah. Yeah. I grew up in the middle class. Exactly. Her running mate didn't do a better job at selling the economy yesterday at his campaign rally. My wife saw the video of Tim Walz when he was saying this. She goes, what the heck is he wearing? Because he's wearing a red flannel lumberjack shirt and a ball cap.
And what did you say as soon as I walked in this morning?
Mason was wearing flannel. I said, is this your Waltz fit?
Listen.
but this is Waltz trying to do his best number on the economy.
I don't even know what a venture capitalist does most of the time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, yeah, that tracks. That tracks. They have no idea what they're talking about, do they? They don't. They don't. And Kamala, I mean, listen, she tried to expand on that thought of being in the middle class, and she served up fresh, scrumptious, delicious word salad.
My agenda is about tapping into the ambitions and the aspirations, knowing that folks want to have an opportunity. If they want, they should have a meaningful opportunity to build wealth, including intergenerational wealth.
Yeah, that way Kamala and the Democrats can tax it, right? With the unrealized gains, with just the exorbitant tax rates that they want to force on us. You know, hey, if you want to build wealth, does she think that people don't want to build wealth? If people want to, they should be able to build wealth. What in the world? This is how they try and sell you that they're good for the economy. Donald Trump doesn't believe it one iota, and he actually released a new campaign ad calling Kamala what she is, the tax queen.
Joe Biden and I are about to get rid of that tax bill.
And on day one, I will repeal that tax bill.
Joe Biden and I are about to work to get rid of that tax cut. Joe and I are about to get rid of that tax bill. Joe Biden and I are about to get rid of that tax cut.
Everything from a 70 to 80% tax rate.
I think that's fantastic.
We've got to increase the corporate tax rate. Part of that is going to be about repealing that tax bill that they just passed. And also looking at estate taxes are going to have to go up.
Nope.
We will tax capital gains.
But we're going to have to raise corporate taxes.
It's just a new way of looking at things to say, we're going to tax what you don't have. That's a sore point, and it's a big deal. Is that something you think she firmly believes in?
I think it's part of the proposals of the campaign.
Taxing unrealized gains just doesn't seem fair in any sense of the word.
I think that this reaction to unrealized gains is a little funny, given that I bet that the majority of people watching right now are already paying a tax on unrealized gains. It's called a property tax. When the value of your home goes up,
It's a use tax.
when the value of your home goes up, you pay higher taxes even if you don't sell your home.
Your value of your home never moves the way stock moves, the way something else moves.
That's always the go-to answer.
Under my plan, there will also be a carbon fee. There has to be some connection between the fee and bad behaviors, and there has to be, and that we have to monitor whether it's going to be passed on to consumers. But I'm going to tell you that should never be the reason not to actually put a fee, and in particular, carbon fee.
Kamala Harris, the tax queen. But guys, she grew up in the middle class. It's 11:31 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. And again, we got a big problem on the westbound South Loop. Had a crash right there where the construction is to go south on 65. Looks like they have cleared that crash, but we're still pretty backed up. Westbound 40, the South Loop there, it's backed up all the way to 24. And then 24 going eastbound to go westbound on 40. That's backed up quite a bit as well, but it looks like it's getting back up to speed. Full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. 29-year-old accused Antioch Greenway killer Paul Park is set to appear in court tomorrow on criminal homicide charges. Metro police say Park was arrested with the help of dash cam footage from a person whom Channel 4 spoke with who wanted to remain anonymous.
I called 911 and I was trying to get authorities there and get an ambulance there as fast as I could. You know, at first we were reporting gunshots, and then we found her, and just that I'm so sorry that this happened to her.
Yeah, police say Park started following Alyssa Lockett's on the Greenway and at some point abducted her, then tried to sexually assault her in the woods. This led to her screaming and fighting, and then she was shot and later died at the hospital. With a 10th person dying, the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Inspector General launching an internal investigation into the agency's handling of the deadly boar's head listeria outbreak. Here's Democrat Connecticut U.S. Senator Richard Blumenthal, who says Congress might need to get involved.
My hope is that this internal Inspector General investigation will show not only the failings with respect to inspection of the boar's head facility, but also more broadly, whether United States Department of Agriculture inspectors are doing the job to prevent the kind of listeria outbreak that killed 10 people.
A total of 59 people have been infected and hospitalized across 19 states so far as reports of new illnesses are slowing down. Election 2024, the Daily Wire says Democrats in Ohio are beside themselves after the Ohio Supreme Court says voters have to place their own ballots in drop boxes themselves. They say that's humiliating for the disabled, but the Ohio State Secretary of State says someone can do that for the disabled as long as that person is approved and it is at the County Board of Elections. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Thank you, Ken. 11:33 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. And now you don't need to be watching on Super Talk TV to see my MAGA Halloween hat to know that we're heading into fall and it's getting cold. All you have to do is walk outside. I mean, the low was like, 35? It's going to be in the 30s the next couple days, and it is officially spooky season. So you're going to be kicking that heat on in the morning to get the chill out of the air. But if you kick it on and you haven't gotten that preventative maintenance done, you may find yourself having a problem popping up with your heat. Don't do that. Call my friends at Busy Bee HVAC. They'll come to your home and they'll make sure that your heater is working in the best way. And if you need some help, they'll give you 50% off the furnace inspection, and they'll give 20% off any furnace repair work at the time of service. That includes the check, the test, and the start. They have additional fees for maintenance and repair, and the work must be done at time of inspection, but it's a good deal from Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. And if you become a Beehive member, well, those tune-ups, they're baked into the cake. For only $99, you get 3 annual tune-ups, 1 for your cooling, 1 for your heating, 1 for your plumbing, a 10% discount on all repairs, priority front-of-the-line service should a problem pop up, a $100 annual accrued replacement credit with a maximum of $1,000, no overtime or holiday fees, and again, it's for as little as $99. For satisfaction guaranteed, you got to call Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. They're your Rude Pro partner, 615-775-7833, 615-775-7833, online at busybeehvac.com. $11:38 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Twitter, True Social, Instagram. Do it for the memes. Hit the follow button at Chris Hand on air. Donald Trump at the Economic Club of Chicago. He's actually a lot more coherent when it comes to economic policies than Kamala Harris, though Kamala did grow up in the middle class. So there's that. Donald Trump did not. So there's that. There's that. But Donald Trump was talking about the economy because, of course, you have to talk about the economy. And he was asked, why should voters trust you? on the economy. And you know what Trump did? He gave a coherent answer. No salad.
Why should they trust you with that?
Because we're about growth. She's got no growth whatsoever, and we're all about growth. We're going to bring companies back to our country. You look at even today, as I was driving over, I see these empty, old, beautiful, like steel mills and factories that are empty and falling down. Some have been converted to senior citizens' homes, but that's not going to do the trick. And we're going to bring the companies back. We're going to lower taxes still further for companies that are going to make their product in the USA. We're going to protect those companies with strong tariffs, because I'm a believer in tariffs. I'm not sure that you are. I don't think you are, but I congratulate you on your career.
just roasting this guy. I don't think you're a believer on tariffs, but hey, I congratulate you on your career. Yikes. So Trump, I mean, I like Trump here. I think he did just fantastic at the Economic Club of Chicago. Absolutely being interviewed by an adversary and holding his own. And I love this. He says, we're not going to let American jobs be shipped overseas. This is the big deal. This is the big part of the economic plan that we need Trump for. Bring these jobs back. He says no more jobs going overseas.
So I've been talking about this, and I said to him about 9 months ago, I said, you know what? I want you to do me a favor, John. His name is John. I don't want to give his last name because he might not like it. But I said, I want to see an auto plant. I want to go and see one of these. You know, you press a button and everything works, right? I want to see one of the big ones. He said, all right, good. I said, where do we go? I'd like to go to Michigan. I'd like to go to someplace in the United States. He said, no, we can't do that. Why? We're not building anything big in the United States. That's not where we don't build the big ones here. I said, where are you building the biggest ones? He said, in Mexico. We're building giant plants, the biggest plants anywhere in the world.
Yeah, we're building them in Mexico. Why do you think Trump responds to that? Well, probably in the most Trump way possible.
In Mexico, I said, so you mean they're going to make cars cheaply? They have advantages over labor and other things, and they're going to sell them into the United States, and they're going to put Michigan out of business. Is that what? I don't know anything about that. All I do is build the plants. If you want to see a plant, we'll go to Mexico. I'll show you the biggest plant in the world. That was 9 months ago. I saw him, and I talked about it all the time because I think it's a serious threat to our country, because not only autos, but other things. So then I see him 2 days ago. I was talking at another club, very nice club, and like this, except, I don't know, I think you people are probably even wealthier, okay? This was in Detroit, okay, which was appropriate. And I was showing them all sorts of charts about how their car, it's just gone down. It's like terrible. And I saw him, and I said, oh, how are you doing? How have you been? I said, could I ask you, how are those plants that you mentioned, those giant plants that you're building in Mexico, how is that coming along? Have you finished them? No, sir. They abandoned the project when they heard you're running. They abandoned the project when they saw that you were winning and doing well. I said, wow.
And that's why we need this guy back. Because people understand what's going to happen with Trump in office. People understand. Although there's an interview going around, Mark Halperin, a reporter. Dan was playing some of the audio this morning. You know, they labeled him a leftist. I think he's more independent, but I think it's a fair description. But anyway, Mark Halperin sitting down with Tucker Carlson. And, you hear what Trump says the business owners are doing when they hear that he could be winning. He could be coming back come November. But Mark Halperin had a great take on what happens to the radical liberals in this country if Trump wins. And this is just a great piece of audio. Mark Halperin said if Trump wins, those leftists that the blue-haired cat ladies, they're going to create the greatest mental health crisis in the history of the country. Listen to this clip. You're going to like it.
Trump wins 3 weeks from today. Mm-hmm. What happens? The Democratic Party as you said, a lot of Democrats, maybe the majority, believe that Trump becoming president again is the worst thing that ever could happen. So how do they respond to that?
I say this not flippantly. I think it will be the cause of the greatest mental health crisis in the history of the country.
He's probably right, you know.
I think tens of millions of people will question their connection to the nation, their connection to other human beings, their connection to their vision of what their future for them and their children could be like. And I think that will require an enormous amount of access to mental health professionals. I think it'll lead to trauma in the workplace. I think there'll be some degree of.
Are you being
serious? 100% serious. 100% serious.
I love how Tucker stops him and says, and he does it with the Tucker face, you know, the resting Tucker face. You being serious? You being serious about this? 100% serious.
I think there'll be alcoholism. There'll be broken marriages. There'll be
what?
Yeah. They think he's the worst person possible to be president, and having won by the hand of Jim Comey and Fluke in 2016, and then performed in office for 4 years and denied who won the election last time, and January 6th, the fact that under a fair election, America chose by the rules pre-agreed to Donald Trump again, I think it will cause the biggest mental health crisis in the history of America. And I don't think it will be kind of a passing thing that by the inauguration will be fine. I think it will be sustained and unprecedented and hideous.
You know, it's something that I haven't really thought about, but when Mark Halperin puts it that way, it's like, yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right. You think about the rhetoric that has been pumped into these radical lefties' heads for the last how many years? If Trump wins, it's going to break them. It broke them last time in 2016. I think that this will break them even worse.
And I don't think the country's ready for it.
So mental health crises often manifest in violence.
Yeah, I think there'll be some violence. I think there'll be workplace fights. There'll be fights at kids' birthday parties. I think there'll be protests that will turn violent. I hope they're not, but I think there will be some. But I think it will be more, it'll be less anger and more a failure to understand how it could happen.
Less anger, but a failure to understand how it could happen. And I could understand how they would have that failure to understand. Because if all you're doing is digesting that Joy Reid, MSNBC, leftist media diet, yeah, you would probably freak out if Trump gets elected. He's literally a dictator. He's literally Hitler. He's literally a fascist.
You know, like the death of a child, or your spouse announcing that you know, your wife announcing she's a lesbian and she's leaving you for your best friend. Like a something that's so traumatic that it is impossible for even the most mentally healthy person to truly process and incorporate into their daily life. I hope I'm wrong, but I think that's what's going to happen for tens of millions of people, because they think that their fellow citizens supporting Trump is a sign of fundamental evil at the heart of their fellow citizens and of the nation. That's how they view it.
He's not wrong. He's not wrong. But I haven't heard anybody put it that way before. That was Mark Halperin in an interview with Tucker Carlson. The entire interview is fantastic. Absolutely worth the listen. On the way, we are going to be checking in with Matt Murphy. I see him roaming about. Murphy, did you notice Murphy's dressed to the nines today?
Yeah, he's all fancy today. What's going on?
He's looking sharp. And he, you know what he didn't do?
What'd he do?
He didn't have anything mean to say about my MAGA Halloween hat.
Hey.
You know? Just pointing it out.
You know what? I'll step up my game. I'll cover him for you.
All right, perfect. It's 11:48. We'll check in with Murphy next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
$11:55 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name's Chris Hand, joined in studio by Matt Murphy. He's wrestling with a microphone over
You
there.
Canadians turn these things upside down.
I never moved that microphone.
Well, I don't know who it is then, but
you Canadians.
I like that though. You notice? Hey, Mason, you notice what just happened? I said, you Canadians move these microphones. And he said, I never moved that microphone.
He immediately knew. I think the truth is going to finally come out.
I like that hat.
He'll admit to it.
Joan Jones was making fun of my hat.
Joan Jones?
Joan Jones. It cut to the core of me, Matt.
That's got to hurt.
It's my all-orange MAGA
really good hat.
Halloween hat with a jack-o'-lantern on the back.
I was going to say, I think it'll win the contest this year.
It's a really
best
good
dressed
hat.
pumpkin.
I get 31 days a year to wear it.
That's right.
And, I'll have 4 more years if Trump wins.
I have lost my Make America Great Again hat that I bought in Trump Tower in New York City in 2015. It was an original. It was an original. It was December 2015 where they did not sell you the hats. This was brilliant, by the way, because Donald Trump knew early on all of the haters would come out, and he did not want to sell the hats because he didn't want people to buy the hats and then trash them. So you did not buy a hat. You made a $30 donation to the Trump team. And if you made a $30 donation, you received a hat.
I love it.
And I've lost. I bought myself one and my father-in-law one, and I can't find it.
I have all these hats, and they're just sitting in my closet, and they're just collecting a little dust. But one day, my boys are going to come to me and say, "Can I have that vintage Trump hat?" And I'm going to say, "I'm so proud of you." I'm so proud. Yes, you can have it.
But no, you can't.
Wait until you're a little bit older and more responsible. That's not for you yet.
Hey, today's the first day of early voting, everybody. Vote early, vote often, is what they say.
Hooray.
You're not a big fan?
No,
early voting?
I'm not a huge fan of early voting. I don't like the concept. I don't like many of the concepts around how we're voting these days. Paper ballots one day, let's go.
Mm-hmm. But now we're told that paper ballots, did you hear what Warnock said in Georgia, that paper ballots were less dependable than electronic voting?
Here's the thing.
What?
You're going to have to math.
I mean, what? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
I mean, and by the way, electronic voting was never designed to be more accurate. It was designed to be more efficient or speedier. And sadly, what you give up for speed is inaccuracy or the ability to cheat, right?
And if it's for speed, you would think that we would have our election results the day of.
Right, but they're slower than ever.
It's coincidence.
It's weird.
It's
isn't
a
it?
happy little accident.
And it's weird that these locations that claim that they have the speediest of the speedy programs, they're the ones that come in last.
Okay, here's one thing that blows my mind. Detroit, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
The mecca of American civilization. It's one of the most efficient cities in the entire world.
Sure.
Just light speed efficiency on everything they do. They have the highest return for mail-in ballots right now at 40%.
Really?
How can a city that can't manage anything manage to have that high of a return already?
That's pretty impressive.
It's pretty impressive.
I mean, but if all of the people are dead,
this is true,
or whatnot.
It was easy.
I remember when we were covering a gubernatorial election in Alabama some years ago, and there was malfeasance going on. There were shenanigans going on, and like one county, Perry County, Alabama, they had a 110% return.
Heck of a turnout.
It was a heck of a turnout on their vote. And the people are like, what? And he goes, well, you got to get. I mean, this guy, a Democrat, right? Like, it's 110% return, and a reporter's asking him about it. And he's like, well, you got to get, if you get the word out, people really want to come out and vote. Like, it's 110%.
It's a happy little accident. Don't ask questions. That's dangerous.
Well, no, I can't do it, and I misanswered this morning. I mean, I can't do it personally, but I encourage people to do it if this is the system that we're going to have, because I want to win the game that we're playing. That's my thing.
And I think it matters, less in Tennessee because we know which way the state's going to go.
Right.
But the tinfoil hat in me goes, oh, you're giving them a tally, a number to
the
go
most
over.
important thing is to get your ballot cast. And if you think there's a danger that you might not be able to do that on voting day, then do it early. But otherwise, I mean, go on voting day. You'll have to stand in a line, but that's okay. It's America.
It's the only way to get your sticker. 12 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.